And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's postgame, everyone. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. Thank you, Search. Truly appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by right here on the Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts on the latest Pop Culture Cosmos. I hope you get a chance to check it out either as a member on the Lakers Fast Break channel, on the Pop Culture Cosmos YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts, as far as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel, because I give out my best and worst of pop culture. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts on what I thought was the best and worst of pop culture. Plus, Josh and I go over season 5 of Stranger Things, New Year's weekend at the box office, and I do preview what I'm already in the middle of right now, and that is CES 2026. But yes, I do take quite a bit of time discussing my best and worst of pop culture for 2025 on the latest Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. Inside Sports Fantasy Football, I hope to get with my main man, Chris Sardieri, as we cover the NFL to preview the NFL playoffs and go over some of the fantasy best and worst as well. Looking forward to hopefully being able to record a show later this week on that. And then also as well, want to go ahead and make mention the NBA observations that I dropped with Caleb Ponce. If you guys are not checking this out, shame on you, because we are providing you with some really deep insight. I hope you get a chance to listen to Caleb, because he really knows the stuff. And we go over all the latest news and trends of what's going on in NBA observations, including what we take as far as one of the things we talked about was a home for Trey Young. And it looks like that home has been found, which we'll discuss on today's show as well. But it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly cannot thank you enough. Support the Lakerholics at Lakerholics.com. Of course, my good friend, John Costa, who will not be here tonight. Go ahead and reach out to him for his 3-minute reports. Like and subscribe at Lakers Corner. And then Joe Soro at the Joe Soro Experiment. Hopefully he will drop by as well. And then, of course, even though the Christmas tree is down for the year, all the tinsel's gone, there's still the magnificent canvas art you can gaze upon right there from my man, Drip Show. At Drip Show Shop on Instagram and Twitter, TikTok, and all that. Go ahead and reach out to him. Follow, like, and subscribe there. And then go ahead and message him if you want something like this or something like this right here from my main man at Drip Show Shop on Instagram and Twitter. Whether it's pop culture related, whether it's sports related, go ahead and reach out to him at Trip Show Shop on Instagram and Twitter. All right, the Lakers on a back-to-back. No LeBron tonight. Of course, we already know that Austin Reaves was going to be out, but no LeBron. Said his foot was a little sore, so couldn't play that back-to-back. 41 years of age. Okay, we'll give it to him. No worries, but that's what I said leading into this game is that who would be out for this game. And if you say, well, the Lakers should have sat down LeBron or Luka in the game against New Orleans, they needed every bit of LeBron and Luka in New Orleans. So I don't know. You tell me as far as that one. But the Lakers had no LeBron James tonight. And yeah, really not that good as far as what happened in the second half. But in the first half, it really looked good to start off with as far as the Lakers. I think even though they were down 5, I'm going to give the Lakers credit for being able to go ahead and gut it out with some of the best defensive effort I think they gave in that first half this season. They really held San Antonio in check. They gave Wembanyama some issues on the offensive end for him. And it looked like the Lakers would have a chance going in the second half. But the Lakers started off the way they started off the first part of the game. Turnovers, Jared Vanderbilt related, mistakes down the stretch. But the key thing, and I know that the Luka haters are going to go ahead and talk all they want about Luka, but this was a Luka versus the Spurs game out of any other, because Luka out there trying to initiate offense, either scoring or passing, kept the Lakers in the game, kept the Lakers in contention. You have to admit that. If you're not, that's fine. Whether you're saying he was foul baiting, whatever you think his game is like, whatever. He was keeping the Lakers in the game. But when he went out in the first half, that was the difference as far as them producing 0 points, the guys that were out there. And the bench, once again, did not deliver. Gabe Vincent, coming back from his latest injury, was pretty putrid and also picked on several times by the much taller Keldon Johnson, who had 27 in the game. Also, as well, Dalton didn't connect on several occasions. Yes, tonight was not a great night for our bench when they needed it the most. They needed that scoring punch when Luka was sitting out of the game, and they just didn't get it. Dalton 1 of 6, 0 of 5 from 3. Maxi Kleber 0 of 3. Gabe Vincent 2 of 8 overall, and again got dominated by Keldon Johnson. They picked on him because he is just much smaller as a defender. Nick Smith 1 of 4. Marcus Smart, on a day where he needed to step up, was 1 of 6, 0 of 3 from behind the arc. It was just Luka Doncic. Jake LaRavia had 16 points, but it was not enough as the Lakers lose 107-91. And I'm just waiting for the adjustment in the standings to see where they're at. They're 23-12 on the season, but it is not updated as of yet. So I'm waiting for it to update to tell you exactly where it lines itself up. But hopefully we will get that up for you updated before we head on out as far as where they fall in the standings. But looking forward to hearing your thoughts on today's game. Again, first half, great effort on the defensive end. It's just that they had nobody who could produce on offense outside of Luka, nobody who could initiate or score consistently on that end of the ball. And that was their undoing in the first half. In the second half, they started committing some turnovers, and it was really disappointing from there. But yeah, like the R. Bruin says, Luka did everything he could. Absolutely, indeed. Xbox says he's so glad he didn't watch the game with Vari. It's like watching a baby that was dropped downstairs. Oh my gosh. And you guys just saw each other. You think they would be some thawing of the cold ice after they saw each other in Australia? Nope. Right back to it. Right back to it indeed. But again, the Lakers are unfortunately the losers. Junior says LeBron needs to retire or leave. This guy always wants to sit on good games. We need new players. And of course, with $52.6 million coming off the books, Junior, I would expect LeBron obviously to either sign a much smaller deal with the Lakers or move on or retire. We'll find out what he's going to do. But yes, the situation will definitely change come this summer. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. But you do have to give him credit. Up until that point today, he was playing pretty good basketball, really good basketball for a 41-year-old. I know Joe was even complimenting him on that. So again, today, his foot, he woke up and his foot just wasn't feeling it. And I guess that was all that needed, because the Lakers, with a healthy LeBron or a LeBron that we had last night, might have been the difference, but we'll never know as the Lakers again lose tonight by the score of 107-91. It was actually right around 7 to 10 points for most of the game. Lakers let it drift a little bit when Luka went out of the game, and it just could never make up and could never get over that hump. But again, the Lakers fall to 23-12. Looking forward to seeing I can tell you what the standings are officially, what they are. So hopefully when that gets updated here in just a second. So looking forward to seeing that update, but it has not been updated by ESPN or NBA.com as of yet. So I don't want to give you a guesstimate on where they're actually in the Western Conference until I see it. The R. Bruin says LeBron is ducking the Spurs. Of course he would. I mentioned that to you guys. As far as who would be sitting out on the back-to-back. And this is going to be something, because I talked to Tuff, because Tuff was asking how many more back-to-backs we have for the rest of the season. And I think I counted 5 more on the rest of the season. Don't hold me to that, but I think it was 5 what I counted on the rest of the schedule, including a real tough one, a home series with Oklahoma City and then the next day, San Antonio. So that won't be fun for those 2 days, that's for sure. That comes in February 9th and 10th. But again, with the Lakers, it's just a matter of, they needed more horsepower tonight and just didn't get any firepower that they needed outside of Luka Doncic. But Pat Greedy says LeBron could have played. I don't care. I can't say I disagree with you, Pat. This was vital for the Lakers to actually, with the win tonight, would have garnered a tie with San Antonio in the Western Conference. But with the loss tonight, again, I'm seeing how far they fall because that's how close it is right now with the teams right now in the Western Conference. So I'm going to go ahead and look somewhere else because NBA.com and ESPN is not giving me what I need right now. So hopefully somebody else has updated it as far as that's concerned. So we're going to go ahead and see if I can find here the Western Conference. Yeah, 23-12. The Lakers fall to 5th place in the Western Conference. A chance to get the second, but they fall to 3rd. But they're in a tie with the Rockets and the Timberwolves. They're all 3 are 6.5 games back behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. So essentially all 3 of those guys are tied between 4th, 5th, and 6th right there. And here today to go ahead and discuss this game for us and the disappointment. Again, great effort on the defensive end of that first half. And no offense that was generated outside of Luka today. It is, of course, the man indeed. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the Joe Soro Experiment on YouTube. It is, of course, Joe Soro. Joe, good to have you here. This was going to be a tough game without LeBron in the lineup, and it certainly proved to be the case, but it was winnable. This was a poor shooting performance from San Antonio overall. It got a little bit better for them in the second half, but with the defensive toughness and effort that they gave in that first half, there was a pathway had they just executed better without Luka in the lineup.
Yeah,
this bench, I should say.
This team is just not half the players are just not good. Gabe Vincent's not good. Laravia is not consistent enough. Connectus needs a change in scenery. DeAndre Ayton isn't good. None of these guys are good in a consistent way. I'm trying to figure out if there really is anyone. Oklahoma City was doing pretty well there the first 30 games, and then they sort of kind of came back down to earth. I kind of had this thought with the NFL this year. I've been going back and forth in my head. There hasn't really been a dominant anything in the NFL this year. I don't remember it being like that before. And it really did start sort of like last year. But anytime Patrick Mahomes is still there, you always kind of assume that that's going to be what that is. And it almost did until they ran out of gas in the Super Bowl. But I'm not seeing. We're never going to, I don't think we're going to see, unless there's a drastic change medically or just the league making these guys play, which it doesn't look like anyone really wants to be consistent and always good and focused on winning game in and game out. I don't think we're going to ever have that in the NBA. And this is a couple levels below that because you also don't have enough firepower. You don't have enough talent on this team. And you definitely don't have enough talent to mesh with Luka Doncic's game. Now, Luka does make bad decisions a lot of times during the game, but I think a lot of that is geared towards the fact that he's got to sort of take some chances because there's a lot of mistakes when they do run things correctly. They actually played well. They ran the offense. They were getting open shots, but they're not making the shots. And it's unfortunate because San Antonio couldn't hit anything either. When a team at home can't hit any shots, I would like to think that that visiting team can sense that and sense the blood in the water and go, "Ooh, we got to really start, doing our thing here." But I don't think these guys are talented enough to do that. No, I don't. It's not that I don't think they are not talented enough, and that's just the reality of what this is. It's not. I'm not gonna jump on the back-to-back BS. These guys are all young players that played tonight. LeBron didn't play, so youth should not be a problem tonight. But you have Gabe Vincent, you have Maxi Kleber, you have DeAndre Ayton, you have Jake LaRavia, you have Dalton Connect. You don't have and Jared Vanderbilt. These guys are just not skilled enough, and they're not skilled enough to play in a heliocentric type offense like Luka, where if you just hit your shots, you would be extremely effective. But
and and just the players. Look at the players that are coming off the bench tonight. Maxi Kleber shot. I mean, that guy, he was shot 3 seasons ago, and some people say, "Oh, Maxi Kleber may have help." What? No, come on, get real, people, get real. His career has been done as soon as he signed that big fat contract that Luka helped him get many years ago. So done with Maxi Kleber. Gabe Vincent came back and was abused by Keldon Johnson repeatedly. That was a coaching issue, Joe. We talk about JJ Redick and give him a credit for a lot of things. The first time you see him get abused out there on the court by the much taller Keldon Johnson and then by Victor Wembanyama on the mismatch, get him out of there because he's not hitting shots. It's just that simple. And Dalton Connect, again, we've gone down this road before, and I really wanted that kid to work out. I really liked what I saw that first game he had at Summer League in 2024. And it's just not there. It's just not there right now. Again, will he go somewhere else, change of scenery, and be better player? Most likely, yes. But right now, it's just call it a day right now with Dalton Connect. These guys are just all bad. And a lot of that has to fall on, of course, Rob Pelinka. Now, for Maxi Kleber, that was understandable because it got you Luka. Okay, that again, what we talked about with Max Christie and all that is the same applies for Maxi Kleber. So I'm willing to live with that because that got us, well, essentially tonight, almost 50% of our offense, both either through scoring or passing tonight. But again, with the rest of the roster the way it is, Gabe Vincent was a Rob signing, and that has been miserable for 3 years. Dalton Connect, you haven't you had a chance to go ahead and trade him, and since then it's been a real unfortunate situation for him. You have Bronny James on this roster that is absolutely the worst player in the NBA. You have so many bad players. Jared Vanderbilt tonight, Joe, successive plays almost again, making mistakes, simple mistakes, holding on to the ball like we talk about, Joe. Holding on to the ball is an adventure for Jared Vanderbilt. What part of this do you guys not understand when we talk about how bad this team has been constructed by Rob Pelinka outside of the major pieces that we have, Joe?
So pay attention if you have to go watch the game again. I thought the game plan was very effective, considering San Antonio is one of those teams that can play some
Their first half was great on that effort.
Yes. But even in the first half, and this is where this becomes a problem, because if you had a little bit of cushion, your enthusiasm, the momentum might carry over in the second half once the team starts to make a couple shots. If you have a little bit of distance, let's say an 8-point lead, which they should have probably had, because when you watch them play in the first half, they were moving the ball, they were getting open shots, but they weren't making anything. It wasn't like they needed to go do isolation to get to the basket. I'm not expecting Gabe Vincent or Vanderbilt or anyone on this team other than Luka to do that. That's not their that's not their game. But they were getting open shots. They were getting gaps in the defenses where they can make shots, where they can possibly DeAndre Ayton could get a little bit more distance I'm sorry, a little bit more room closer to the basket to do his little 2-3 foot shot. That one, I'd say DeAndre Ayton tonight was the most disappointing for me, even though there was a lot of disappointing players, because this would have been the game that we needed DeAndre Ayton. And this could have been the game when Wembanyama was sitting on the bench to start the game, and when he was sitting in general, where he should have taken over. He should have gotten the ball more, but he wasn't allowing himself to create, for whatever reason, those opportunities, because Luka would have found them, but it just wasn't happening. And I didn't see anything in San Antonio's defensive scheme to say, well, maybe they're fronting him a certain way. Maybe they have a second defender shadow on him. I don't even think they cared where he was. So the reality of all this is it just doesn't matter anymore. We know what the deficiencies are. The only way this deficiency is solved is by having the problems go away on their own, which is at the end of the year. When you look at what's set up for the end of the year, if LeBron James, who's making $52 million a year, is not available for games like this, so that you can go from 3-2 instead of 3-6, that's what we talk about when we say this isn't earning the money. And people get fixated on the age and the past accomplishments. Yes, it's amazing when he plays well. Yes, we appreciate that. But I like to appreciate it in the moment, not, oh, well, he's a 50-time All-Star. Look, it doesn't matter what the fuck the All-Star thing is or how many points he has. It doesn't matter now. I used to hear that a lot with Russell Westbrook from idiot analysts on TV. Well, this guy deserves more respect. This is a former MVP. I'm like, you moron. What does that have to do with year 2022? What is him winning an MVP in 2017? And these are ex-athletes, ex-NBA players talking like this. When ex-NBA players who should know better talk like that, it warrants someone who's never played in the NBA to call those guys out and tell them that my couch that I analyze this from is better than yours, because you're just putting yourself in a position where you don't make any sense. This team is not set up yet for what Luka can do. As a matter of fact, Luka has never really had a team set up for his skill set yet. He sort of had it in Dallas when he went to the finals, but that was for only really not even a half a season. So look at it this way. Something happened today, and I don't know if it's things to come. I don't know. Setting markets these days is an interesting conversation, because when Rudy Gobert got traded to Minnesota for 100 draft picks, everyone said, well, Gobert just set the market. I go, no, he didn't set the market. I go, that was a ridiculous trade in terms of the market. In terms of why Minnesota did it, well, I kind of understood why Minnesota did it. It's because no one is going to Minnesota, and that was the only way they were going to get an all-star, defensive player of the year type player to get there. That's just what it is. That's the reality of that. I equate it to a house that sells for below market value, let's say, in the neighborhood that, they say, oh, well, this house just jacked up the entire comp of the neighborhood. I go, did it really, though? That house sold because that couple is divorcing. And if you know anything about real estate, even the basic stuff, the best houses to go buy are ones where the married couple is about to separate, because they want it to finish and they want it to sell quick. They don't have time to wait for the market to tell them, yeah, we're going to give you this, right? So all this stuff it's a unfortunate, boring tennis match that you have with yourself. Oh, we win in New Orleans, yay! But then you lose in New Orleans. No, oh no, it's just not. There's no consistency. There's no anything that's gonna make you go into every game right now and go, man, I'm confident. And it doesn't matter how good they are. And that's where it is. So as far as the market is concerned, with the Trey Young trade, I keep reading the article and I'm still in kind of shock that there was no draft picks involved in this trade. I can't understand that. I'm almost to the point to say is what has gone on in the last 2 seasons where Luka Doncic is traded for an injury-plagued player, a D-plus player, and just one first-round pick, and then a year later, that same guy that was in that same draft where they were traded for each other gets traded for a 80-year-old player and someone that I barely see watching, a 9-point-a-game player, and no draft picks. I'm still like trying to process that. If that is setting the market, let's say for now, we're not going to see shit in February. Nothing. If that's what sets the market. Now, if transactions do happen, that means good things for the Lakers. That means maybe they don't have to give up draft picks. But you see where I'm going with this, Gerald? Do you remember what I told you about the draft picks? We should not give up any draft picks. This is me on a couch that's never been an NBA GM, right? That's never been an NBA player, someone that doesn't know shit, right? I said that draft picks, because of the current collective bargaining agreement, is going to create a standstill when it comes to draft capital, unless it goes to a prime star player. And even then, you're not going to see 4 and 5 picks anymore. Those days are gone. And you just got proof today. Trey Young is a 26-10 player, guys, in his prime. This is not some guy that's just, a marginal player that plays, good here and there. This is a legit all-star. Yes, he sucks in defense. Yes, he might not help you win a lot, but his skill set and his numbers are, Hall of Fame worthy if he continues this for another decade. So what do Laker fans now hope for? There's 2 ways that this is going to go if we base what's going to happen off what just happened with Trey Young. Is someone going to trade their players without including heavy draft picks? The answer to that question is, I don't think so. Because I don't think there's going to be any big names that are going to get traded during the trade deadline. So now what? What are you going to give? Are you going to give second-round picks? Dual second-round picks? I could see that. But as far as, let's say, Trey Murphy the third, right? Let's say New Orleans said, no, we want 2 first-round picks for him. No one's giving them 2 first-round picks. Does that mean 1 first-round pick?
Let me just ask you this. Draft day of next summer, this upcoming summer, draft day, the Lakers will have for that 1 day and 1 day only 3 number 1s to give. You wouldn't do a draft day deal for Herb Jones and Trey Murphy?
Not Herb Jones, no.
No,
Trey Murphy,
combination. No,
if you get both.
That's what I'm saying.
If you get both, I said this on the last show. If you do both, I want expiring contracts going out, which I'm sure they'll be happy with because they get rid of Trey Murphy's contract. Herb's is not that much, is it? But it is extended, though, right?
He did extend it, yes.
Yeah, okay. So his is not too high. I think it was 14.
Still in the teens.
Yeah, it's still in the teens even next year, and then it goes to 20 after that. So let's say New Orleans goes, all right, give us a first-round pick and expiring contracts, and we'll send you Trey Murphy the third and Herb Jones. What is going to be the cap on that first pick? Because they're probably going to ask
well, if it's in this year's draft, it would be that year's. It could be this pick, Joe.
Does that make sense for New Orleans to get a pick? Because if you get Trey Murphy the third and Herb Jones, that's a huge haul.
Well, you'd probably have
that means that pick's going to be in the 20s, probably.
You'd have to give them 2 firsts. This
upcoming
one. You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do that.
I don't think unless they're protected.
You wouldn't You wouldn't do a pick in the 20s, which is right now where the Lakers.
Those guys are not stars to make that deal, in my view.
Okay.
And if you make that deal, are you trading Reaves or are you letting him go? Is there going to be a sign and trade during the summer if he signs somewhere else? If you get Herb Jones, this is my view on this. If you get Herb Jones and Trey Murphy the third You don't need Austin Reaves.
No, you can't. They're essentially right around the same position, Joe. So it won't work out. So yes, your best bet is that he signs somewhere in free agency, and the Lakers, with still cap space to go, will get the whatever team he goes on. Let's just say Washington, Joe, first, because I'll still have cap space, and to someone to go alongside Trey Young. Let's say they want Austin Reaves, then maybe they might want to come to Lakers to help sweeten the pot for Austin Reaves and say, you know what, can you do anything on it, work anything on a sign or trade? So at least the Lakers might get something on the back end.
The only way that team that he goes to wants to make that deal is if they really want to cater to Reaves, right? Let's say Reaves says, I'll come to you, but I really want that 5th year. Can we do a sign and trade?
He can't get a 5th year from out. He can't get a 5th year.
Can he get it? Well, he can get it if it's a sign and trade.
If it's sign and trade, yeah.
Unless the rules have changed. I haven't looked at that one yet.
I'd have to check on that.
I haven't looked at that one, but I think it hasn't changed because I think that would have been
so to give him that 5th year. You're saying they would trade him to Washington?
If the only way I see sign and trade is if they give him the 5th year, yeah, because that's you got to get his bird rights to give him the 5th year. But what do you get in return? Are you getting draft picks from Washington? And here's the other thing too. I know you just meant as an example for Washington, but it's not likely that's going to happen because are you going to put Trey Young and Austin in the same backcourt? That's going to be a turnstile of all turnstiles at that point.
I would agree, but it is Washington, so they've got Trey Young anyway. So what are you going to do? They want people to come and get in the seats, and if it means having a electrifying offensively backcourt, but defensively inefficient backcourt, there's still going to be. Trey Young does not guarantee much more than a 30 to 35 win season moving forward for them, as far as that's concerned, from what I see. It's just the fact is, if I'd use them as an example for Austin Reaves because they're one of the teams that will still have cap space going into the summer. But yeah, that would be a thing. If you wanted a more well-rounded team around Luka, there are going to have to be some concessions that are going to have to be made, and Austin Reaves would be one of them.
Yeah, I have no thought of what that situation is going to be yet. If I had to guess on what's going to happen, and maybe I'm being naive here, is I don't think AR is going to have the market that he probably wishes he had. I just don't think anybody who's logically thinking, but there's a lot of dumb GMs out there in the NBA. Probably some of the dumbest GMs in sports have come from the NBA. Are you going to spend $40 to $45 million a year on a player that's really a one-way player? And the answer is no. This isn't Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic can be considered a one-way player, but his game is so refined that his ability to determine wins and be more in the W's and the L's that's a skill that you can't measure in a lot of other than wins and losses, right? Luka can get into the playoffs and end your season. Austin Reaves, when he's in the playoffs, usually he's the reason why your season ended. So it's a different game. But as far as how things are playing out, seeing the focus of the team, seeing the skill set. So let's use today's game as a barometer on why certain things have happened in the last few months, year, whatever, right? Why was DeAndre Ayton available? Well, DeAndre Ayton is available for a couple of reasons why you heard things this last week with him. One, he's not happy getting the ball, which I had made an example that a big man that doesn't get the ball gets frustrated, and that's usually a normal thing in sports. I equate it to a receiver not getting the ball in football. I understand it. However, the problem with DeAndre Ayton is when he does get the ball, he's still not being effective.
Well, it's a situation with him, with DeAndre Ayton. I mean, I said last night, okay, yeah, 18-11 against New Orleans, an 8-win team. That's great. But what do you do the next night against San Antonio?
When they needed you
without LeBron James, and he didn't show up. Marcus Smart, You guys were talking about. In fact, I get Pinty who sends me, "Oh, Marcus Smart is worth 12 to 15 million dollars or something thereabouts." When we re-sign him in the offseason. I'm like, sure didn't play like it tonight. What were the words, Joe? When we need it the most. When we needed it the most, those guys, those free agent acquisitions, again, low cost, as far as where you want to put as far as their ceiling is, that's fine. But again, this is what happens. This is why they were low cost, because they're inconsistent. This is why DeAndre Ayton burned his bridge in Phoenix and in Portland. This is why Marcus Smart was out there and still available, is because they're just not going to always give you what you need on an every game basis. And tonight, without LeBron, they needed something extra tonight. Laravia, 16 points, hit some threes, but again, they needed something more, Joe, tonight, especially when Luka went out of the game. The guy looked really tired tonight. He was doubled over on several occasions, and also tweaked his ankle. If you saw that play where he was driving to the basket, and they gave him nothing. They didn't. How deflated must you be if you're Luka Doncic when you're flying on the way home to Los Angeles and you realize the rest of your teammates did not come to your aid offensively tonight? That first half defensively, yes, I'm going to tell you, they played one of the better defensive halves they played all season long, but they just couldn't get the job done. They just couldn't execute on offense without Luka. And it's so sad, Joe, because San Antonio only made 4 threes all game tonight. 4. And
they had an opening in the first half. They had an opening where they should have taken an 8-10 point lead going into the half. And then they could have maybe in some way dealt with a run in the second half and continued that play. But because they were behind, because they were never able to get really over it, all San Antonio needed was a little bit of some distance, and then it was kind of trying to catch up to it, and they never could. I don't know what else can happen in the NBA. I thought maybe the 65 game minimum to win awards might help these guys play more, but it looks like they're not capable of playing well. It's either their training, their preparation isn't there. You can sit there and tell me about the game being fast paced and all that, but I'm trying to figure out this: is it really fast paced to the point where you're ruining your body? You're not going down low and banging with guys and dealing with shoulders and hips and knees hitting all the time. I mean, these guys, they'll hit a knee. I don't remember this. And again, this is not me being a boomer. I don't remember in 10 years ago and beyond where every other place somebody gets hurt and it's like they got shot. They're starting to look like soccer players now in the NBA. I think they're just mentally weaker. They've been given the entitlement that they can be hurt because there's too many games, and that's stupid enough. There was an argument about can we lessen the games, and Adam Silver decided to add more games. I mean, the stupidity on that is mind-boggling to me, right? So I don't want to. It's not. I don't think it's just a Laker thing. I think it's just the player right now is a weak-minded individual who isn't adjusting to the current culture, to the current activity of what the NBA is right now. I had a discussion with the boys today about Yamamoto, and someone mentioned Paul Skeens.
Yeah, they were. By the way, they were asking for a Dodgers rant today from you.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe it's about the, I guess, as far as the free agent acquisitions, the penalties or whatnot. I was trying to figure out why that they need specifically, because at the beginning of the show they were asking for you for a Dodgers rant, and I was like,
I don't have any rants for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are doing exactly everything perfectly. I don't know.
I mean, it's about the punishment if they sign Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette. I don't know. I'm not.
I'll get to that. I'll get to that. I'm confused on what they're talking about there. I'm following it rigorously, and what if I had to give you a little bit of a synopsis before I get into the details, you don't. The Dodgers have been doing this for the last 3 years. They wait for the team or whoever they're negotiating with that player to screw up so that the Dodgers can come in and take the player. See, that's why that's really what you should be upset about if you're complaining. You should be upset at how the Red Sox, Beantown, the whole history of the Boston Red Sox, they've spent exactly dick on anyone right now. And they're playing hard to get with that cheating piece of shit Bregman, right? And then you have, oh, by the way, you know who else hasn't spent a dime? Colorado Rockies. That's what the Boston Red Sox are. And I'll get to that in more detail, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a tease on that. But as far as going back to the NBA culture, I don't really know how this is going to turn out. Although Mark Walter being in charge makes me feel comfortable because we are 3.5 months away from shedding a lot of the problems that you saw tonight. The Larevias are not really a problem. I think Laravia is doing what he does. That's what he got brought in to do. He's been a little bit more consistent, I'd say, maybe the last few weeks with it. And that's fine. He put up 16 points today, and he was hitting open shots. The problem is he was the only one hitting them. That's the problem. You look at everybody else on the team, the guys that should have been more effective tonight, which was DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart. This is the kind of game where you need the veteran leadership and your young center, whom didn't have to deal with Wembanyama for half the game because he's on a minute restriction. He didn't do shit. So if LeBron's not going to be there, if Austin's not going to be there, Rui's not going to be there, and then DeAndre Ayton isn't going to do shit, and this guy wants the ball, and he wants a $100 million contract at the end of the year, do you really want that $100 million, DeAndre? Do you? And is it going to be enough? Doesn't matter. Miles Turner got a $100 million contract, and he is a lot of the reason why Indiana didn't win the championship. If he had played better in the finals, Indiana may have beaten Oklahoma City. When I say play better, play when he's on, he's pretty damn effective, right? You have a big who can shoot and block shots, right? If he had done that better, maybe Indiana closes that series in 6, and you don't have to worry about Halliburton getting hurt. Because the Indiana Pacers were leading that series twice. What's the statistic on that, Gerald? When a team leads, I just thought of it now. When a team leads twice in a finals, what are the percentages of that team winning the championship? I really would like to know what that is.
It's above 50%, but
is it really 50% twice?
No, above 50%. I'm just saying it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a guess that it might be just them and maybe one other team. Maybe they're the only team. I'm gonna look it up and I'll have the answer for you guys on the next show.
But yeah, I think that again, when you are up 2-1 in the finals or you're up 2-1 in a playoff series, you're more than likely to win unless you're coached by Doc Rivers. So, and I'll just leave it at that. But once again, the Lakers do lose 107-91. Very frustrating, Joe, because again, overall, great effort on the defensive end in the first half. One of the best defensive efforts I've seen this year in that first half, but just could not generate enough offense. That's the part that really hurts most, especially you could see they didn't score a point when Luka sat out, for the time that Luka sat out in the first half. Absolutely disappointing. And then they start off that third quarter, Joe, with turnover, and Vanderbilt. You live on Vando Hill, you will die upon Vando Hill. And all those Vando supporters that we keep talking to you about, we keep talking to you guys about specifically. your heart must sink every single time he makes a great play and then follows it up with something that, an AAU kid could probably do better, Joe.
I had a really detailed conversation, and I usually don't do this on my.
Oh, I dropped it out of bounds. Oh,
I don't usually do this on Lakers Ball. For those of you who are new here, Lakers Ball is how Gerald found me 4 years ago.
they're a chat
Lakers,
forum.
they're a chat forum, an extremely just dynamite group. I like everybody on there. They're all great, and they do get a little irritated by me when I'm a matter of fact type. That they still talk about Max Christie in terms of his prowess, right? And the other day I had to drop a 7-paragraph analysis on Max Christie, and of course they did like the post. They did respect it without a lot of commentary, and there's a lot of joking and condescension, which kind of makes it fun, right? And I told one of my guys and again it's hard
or
to
on this site.
I can post it for you guys so you can read it.
You can send it to me. I'll
sure. I'll do that after the show. The retort was funny because one of the guys on there, I can't ever fault him. He's such a positive guy. It's like, what am I going to do? Get mad at a guy that wants his team to play well and wants to support players? But I'm not that kind of guy. I'm more Bill Parcells, right? I don't have patience for that stuff sometimes. And I don't like delusional. I don't like the Laker fan who I have known for a long time overrating players, right? It's about winning. And if your argument is going to be this guy's playing well because he dropped 24 points in 4 of the last 8 games, guys, the NBA has created an avenue for anyone to score 20 points these days. It's what it is. You have a lot of guys that can score now because defenses have gone away, and hand checking obviously has been gone for a while. But it's the way the offenses work and the way the 3-point line has come into the game. It's you have a couple of good zones that you hit during the game, you're going to score some points. But then I went through the details on just there's no stat in the NBA for WAR like there is in baseball. So wins above replacement. There, not that I know of. There isn't any of those stats. And if you notice, Gerald, the WAR stat has been taken like the forefront on a lot of these Hall of Fame decisions in baseball, right? Max Christie does not affect winning. Jared Vanderbilt's intangibles, and for the Apple people, I'm putting the 2 bunny ears up and Spotify. The intangibles. Okay, if you're going to tell me that Alex Caruso is good, yeah, it's blatantly obvious. This man's game, if you had a WAR that you can measure, this guy helped 2 teams win a championship. And he's not some bench guy either, even though he does come off the bench sometimes. This man was a first and a second team all defensive player. That's the guy that has the intangibles. Now, he can't lead a team. He's not going to be the 1, the 2, the 3, maybe not even the 4 option on a team, but he is the glue at the right time. That is the guy. That was the guy. And that guy proved it not once, twice. And as an individual player, he's been proving it too with the accolades that he gets from it, right? Jared Vanderbilt, he gets a steal, and all of a sudden everyone thinks he's Michael Cooper. I go, are you guys watching both sides of the game here? He will hit a 3, and then he'll allow an and 1 in the next play. That means net 0. Like the old internet company, net 0. That means 0. When a kicker kicks it for 60 yards, and then the returner takes it 60 yards, that's a net zero now. Not his fault, but the point is, it's about the results. How many times I got to use that word? Tonight was a very good indication at how bad, over and over again, Jared Vanderbilt's game is. And then you saw Gabe Vincent, and you saw DeAndre Ayton, and you saw Marcus Smart. I like Marcus Smart. He's good in spurts, yes. But tonight's game was probably the first game this year where I was really disappointed in Marcus Smart. He scored 2 freaking points in 34 minutes. That is horrible. How different would this game have been had he scored 10 points? How different would this game have gone if DeAndre Ayton
got his average?
Scored his average. He only scored 9 points. The only one that played well tonight that was not starting was Jackson Hayes. He does his part. He does his part. He backs up and he does his part. For $3 million a year, he does his part during the regular season as a backup center. But that's it. That's all they got tonight. And then Luka. And then Laravia had it in spots, but he was not existent in the second half. So I'm going to enjoy the season as much as I can, enjoy the wins, cross my fingers that things go a certain way because of how the NBA culture is. So taking the bad, and then I'm going to take it with the good. The good part about what the current culture of the NBA is there might be a chance for any team if there are certain teams that don't get out of the playoffs healthy. We've had 3 NBA championships in a row, 3 NBA champions in a row where they have won the championship due to the fact that everyone around them got injured, the main guys. They earned it still. Everyone earned it. Denver earned it, Boston earned it, and Oklahoma City earned it. They all earned it. I'm not putting any asterisk like some dumb shit trying to make excuses like a loser, but injuries played a huge part in those teams winning. And maybe the Lakers can get lucky there. And I say that not to wish anybody to be hurt, but that's what that is. That's what has happened. That is the reality of what's going on. So you can't, especially with them being 23-12 and winning on the road as much as they have, you can't, and you have Luka and LeBron, and you're going to get AR back. You cannot lose faith in that there may be a small shot. At least try to see if it can work. If not, hey, it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to, again, enjoying the season as much as I can, see what happens in the end. But I'm also looking forward to more of cleaning the slate. I'm excited for this summer because so much will be cleaned off the plate and we won't have to worry about at least 5 of the players that frustrate us to all hell. They're all going to be gone. One of them is not LeBron. LeBron is LeBron. The problem with LeBron is not his game a lot of times. It's the things around him. But the reality there too is, the reality is his $52 million is coming off the books, and you're not going to, you can't pay him any considerable amount. He'd have to come back. If he really wanted to come back, he'd have to take a 80% cut, in my view. He'd have to go back. He'd have to go down to $10 million. That's what I would do. LeBron, you want to come back? Look what Aaron Rodgers just did this year. He didn't get paid $30-40 million. And look what he did. So you want to be our Aaron Rodgers? You want to help? You want to win a championship and announce your retirement in year 24? Okay. You want the flowers? You want the candy? You want everybody kissing your ass? Great. I give you $10 million. We're going to go get depth. We're going to draft some people that are actually going to be able to play instead of picking whatever the hell Rob Pelinka's been picking the last few years. And let's see if we can make a run next year and win a championship. And having a LeBron James who's dropping 22-8-8, let's say, or 8-6, making $10 million, there's a lot of value there.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. The Lakers unfortunately lose 107-91 with the loss by Houston against Portland tonight. The Lakers were in fifth, for a brief moment, but now have moved up into fourth place in the Western Conference. Houston, you know what? I can't figure out this team because it's a team that shoots well, rebounds well, and still finds a way to lose a lot of games and has Kevin Durant. And they are now finding themselves at sixth place in the Western Conference. So with that loss, but the Lakers now move up to fourth place after a brief stay in fifth place tonight. But yes, with the loss, they fall from a chance to get to second. They're now in fourth place in the Western Conference. And Joe, before we get to Trey Young a little bit more in detail before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and ask your thoughts on this because the next game is it against Milwaukee. It's at home. The Lakers fly home right now. I'm hoping that Luka with the tweaked ankles should be fine. I know he, as you saw, visibly said, ouch, because it did hurt him a little bit, but you could see the toll on games like today have on him when he's doing and so much and working so hard on that end. And it's funny because all the haters against Luka, they seem to get quiet on a day like today because they see what happens. You saw it. There's just no other proof. The proof is right there, Joe, in everybody's eyes, in everybody's hands about how important Luka can be at serious points times when you don't have an Austin, when you don't have a LeBron. Luka was virtually the entire offense in that first half for the Los Angeles Lakers, assisting or scoring on virtually every point that the Lakers were making in that first half. But yet, Luka is a problem. Luka, all this stuff that we've heard in the past and recent games about Luka does this wrong, Luka does that wrong.
But I'm more concerned with you had a player that played tonight that was bitching and whining about looks, and he should have been the second option tonight. Mm-hmm. That's what should have happened.
Should have stepped up,
but he didn't step up. So now does JJ Redick wreck the entire season with him and say, you had a chance to do your thing tonight with no distractions. LeBron was out. Reaves was out. Rui was out. You were the second option, and you came up dick. Now what? You gonna blame me? Your backup played better than you tonight, and he played half the minutes, almost half the minutes. So what do you have for me? What do you have for me, DeAndre? Is this why you got bounced out of Phoenix? Is this why you got bounced out of Portland? Yeah, probably, because your focus is up your butt.
I mean, there's a reason why. Thank you, Mars. I mean, it is what it is. He got run out of Phoenix and burned his bridge with Portland for a reason, guys. Remember, he's a former number 1 overall draft pick, and he's just never quite lived up to that capability. And people get tantalized because of that number 1 thing that will always be attached to him wherever he goes, and they get tantalized that maybe they're going to be the team that works it out right. But he is nothing more than the 15th through 22nd best center in this league. And when it comes to time this upcoming summer, and he's looking for his paycheck, that's what he should be paid. He should be paid right around the 20th best center in the league, which is $12 to $15 million at best. And again, if you want to start him, you have to build a certain team around him because he has flaws in his game, as we're finding out, Joe, especially on the defensive end. He cannot anchor a high-level defense, and that's part of the problem right now for the Lakers.
Fine. The defense was doing fine, even with him in there. The issue was where he was supposed to be valuable, which is 3 and 4 feet away from the basket. He came up lame tonight at a time where the Lakers needed him. They needed him, and it could have been the difference. I don't care about Portland, and I don't care about Phoenix. I'm talking about what's happened this week. This is about this week. You complained that you didn't get the ball, and then you had clear-cut second option duty tonight, and you didn't do shit against a team that couldn't play in the first half well. On top of it, the team that you played against didn't play well at home, and the main guy that is there didn't really play much at the beginning of the game, you could have gone off. You could have made things a little harder for him too. And then you quit in the end. This is about this week. This is about DeAndre Ayton eating his own foot. And J.J. Redick can't say anything right now because they're desperate for that player to play well, right? They can't rely on Jackson Hayes. But then at this point, does it matter? If he's going to play like this, it won't matter. So now we got to hope. There's that fun word again. We got to hope he's focused. But that's what this is. Teams are not going to release talented players like they did with Marcus Smart and DeAndre Ayton, right? We were happy that we got him because there was no investment. But my frustration right now with him was his mouth. He hadn't spoken like this before this week. So now he's kind of in my doghouse. I'm not expecting him to kiss everybody's ass, but DeAndre Ayton said, I'm not getting the ball. Then you get the ball, and there is no one else around you other than Luka that needs the ball, and you didn't do shit. Now what? Now what are we going to talk about? So, I think what's next is, can this team actually? What's next in my worry right now is Luka doesn't look good physically. I think something's wrong. I think he's got a lower ailment somewhere, and because I'm watching him. Sometimes I'll stick to one guy during the game. I won't pay attention to the ball going even in the hoop. I'll just stick my eye on Laravia or it's Smart or if DeAndre, and then I'll just focus on that. Sometimes I got to rewind it because I missed the play. Luka doesn't look healthy. That's not a good sign in January, the beginning of January. What the hell's going to happen in March, at the end of March? So I don't know what's going on there. He looks like he's laboring. The way he walks, he's always kind of hunched over and kind of looking down.
But the guy they let go to get Marcus Smart, good one. Okay game today, 12 points, but that was certainly a hell of a lot better than what Marcus Smart offered today, unfortunately. And Marcus Smart, again, for him and DeAndre Ayton, whatever they're doing now is trying to build for their future when they go looking for a paycheck, Joe. And it's games like these. If you're a good GM, if you're good in the front office of what you do, it's not the games like last night, Joe, against an 8-win New Orleans team. It's a game like tonight with a win that could put you in a second place tie in the Western Conference, with San Antonio only making 4 threes and shooting 16% from behind the arc the entire game. It's those type of games which you really can gauge or get a good gauge on whether or not you should commit long-term money to an Ayton or a Smart. And tonight could be a really detrimental game for their pocketbooks in the future, Joe.
With how tight the division is, these games against San Antonio, especially when they're not playing well and you don't win. Now that could be the difference between being a 4 seed or a 5 seed. Mm-hmm. Are we going to discuss Darvin Ham's philosophy of regular season prowess?
Do we have to? But again, the Lakers do lose 107-91. But
you earned not taking the regular season seriously. So since you guys talked about the Dodgers, I'm going to use them as an example. I was frustrated this year with the Dodgers during the regular season.
I think we all were.
Right? Especially after July. I'm like, are these guys going to keep playing like this? Do they give a damn? You
snapped at me every time I pointed you out the problems.
That's because that was at the beginning of the year. I'm talking about after July.
No, I was after July.
They were still winning. They were still winning when they were having issues with the bullpen.
Yeah.
The issue after July was they just couldn't hit. They didn't really hit all through July and all the way to the World Series, really. So this is the first year in Dodger history where they repeated. This is a team that's been in existence since 1884. I know a lot of people don't know that about baseball, but baseball's been around for a long time. Now, the first World Series wasn't until 1903, and then minus 1904 and 1994, there's been a World Series every year since then, right? This is the first time in Dodger history, as big as the franchise is, in my view, the second biggest franchise in baseball history behind the Yankees. This team finally won back-to-back after all these years. I had no history of being comfortable after a championship. Or are they just running out of gas? Are they not taking it seriously? Now, seeing what happened, now if they repeat next year in terms of how they played in the regular season, there's a little bit more benefit of the doubt, much like how the Lakers ended up creating that in 2001. And then in 2002, yeah, they won a couple more games versus the year before, but I didn't care during the three-peat whether they were going to win 70 games. They won 58, but I'm like, look, they just won back-to-back, and they were in turmoil up until the end of March, and then they went on a 23-1 run. I'm like, all right, if this is what you guys are going to do, you guys proved that year that you didn't need to win even 60 games to wipe the floor with everyone. Now, going into the 2026 season, it doesn't matter if this team, other than Houston, that was probably where all my angst came from, was getting swept by Houston at home. Other than Houston, if they decide that they want to get swept by whatever, and they're just trying to get to the playoffs and win the division, okay, well, you guys earned that from 2025. You still want it, playing it that way, then I'm going to sit back and relax. But this team doesn't have that, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, they are going to try to just make it to the playoffs and then it's a free-for-all. No. In the NBA, even to this lackluster parried game league, the team that still has the home court advantage is winning the championships.
So, again, the Lakers lose 107-91. They're currently, after all the dust is settled for tonight's scores, fourth place in the Western Conference. Their next game is against Giannis Antetokounmpo on Friday at home against Milwaukee. So before we head on out, Joe, there was the first major trade, or pretty much any trade of any kind this season, of any note, and that is Trey Young heading to the Washington Wizards in exchange for Corey Kispert and C.J. McCollum. No picks attached either which way, which, again, I think is perplexing a lot of people. C.J. McCollum's contract does come off the books for Atlanta, which obviously was something that they coveted. Corey Kispert's does not. That's so that they're going to still hold on to that for a little while. But with Trey Young, again, Washington, I don't know what their true motivations are because, like Luka, you have to build a specific team around Trey Young in order for them to win at a high level. And I think it's really a lot harder to build a team around Trey Young consistently to do so. But I don't think it's a coincidence as well as far as Atlanta winning the first game Trey Young is gone, as they did tonight.
I saw the reports that the Washington Wizards this morning were the front runners to getting Trey Young.
Mm-hmm.
Then
reported yesterday,
and then a few hours later, I heard that Trey Young wanted to go to Washington, and then I'm like, huh? I've never heard anybody wanting to go to Washington.
That's because he could do all he wants there.
Okay. Why wouldn't he just do that in Atlanta? He had a better team in Atlanta.
He unfortunately as the organization and him, because of his lack of defensive prowess, Joe,
Okay.
it's just become that bad an issue. And in Washington, they obviously don't share those same concerns.
Okay. So, okay, fair enough. The final part of this is compensation for him. This is worse than Luka, in my view, in so many ways. Was the market that bad? It had to have been, right? It had to have been. So what did we talk about a few shows ago, Gerald? Do you remember what we talked about transactions in the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So would you say Trey Murphy III is a better player than Trey Young?
Yes. At this point, yes. More well-rounded, I think, in my opinion, because of what he could do for a team and how much easier it is to build around him as opposed to obviously building around Trey Young right now.
Do you feel that the league thinks that?
Evidently, they're turning into that. They're obviously leaning that just by what you saw with the trade tonight.
So you're telling me that Trey Young III, should there be a team that wants him, that team that tries to get him are going to give more compensation for him than
no, Trey Murphy the third. You said Trey Young the third. Trey Murphy.
I know they're both Treys, so follow me when I say this. I'll just say Murphy. So Murphy is to you a better player than Trey Young.
It's a more valuable player. I think that probably makes better sense.
Okay.
Does that make more sense? He's a more valuable player to an NBA.
Okay, so if Murphy is a more valuable player than Trey Young, whom is a 26-10 player in an NBA in his prime, you're insinuating that he's going to get a better return. The team that trades him, New Orleans, is going to get a better return than what Atlanta got. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that Trey Young will yield a better. If Trey Young is Trey Murphy, now you got me saying it. If Trey Murphy,
just say Murphy. Forget about Trey. Say Murphy.
If Murphy gets traded, he'll get traded for a better haul than Trey Young.
Okay, so that's what you're saying. Okay, I don't know if that's true.
I mean, as far as the Mikal Bridges trade,
there's logic in what you're saying, 100%. But we're talking about. I'm trying not to go this way because then I'm going to veer off. But the Magic Johnsons and the Michael Jordans, we saw how those guys operated when it came to talent. And you would think arguably the two greatest players that ever played, you would think they'd know talent, right? Well, they didn't. They're drafting Adam Morrison, Gilchrist. They're drafting Lonzo over Tatum. Like, they don't know shit. They're not scouting players. They're going off of what they probably saw on ESPN. So is the league going to value Trey Murphy III over Trey Young? My instincts say no.
My instincts say yes.
So we're going to find out. However,
if he is traded in the offseason, he'll most likely be traded.
However, my point is, I'm going to stay on what I kind of already talked about. I don't know if anything's going to happen at this deadline, based off what I just saw with Trey Young. If that sets the market, I don't think anyone is going to get traded because no one is going to give up draft capital anymore.
Best, why would the Lakers want Trey Young? Trey Young, most likely because he cannot get unless Washington, because that's the thing. That's probably the reason why Trey Young wants to go to Washington, because he sees that as one of the few teams that will give him a nice, cushy 4 or 5 year extension on a contract. Otherwise, he is going to opt in. If it doesn't go right in Washington the next couple months, he's probably going to just opt into the final year, right around $50 million for the final year on his contract, and then go forward. But I have a feeling that he's, those agents, the management, they've already talked to each other. And Washington is leaning towards issuing him an extension that is going to be satisfactory to his needs and be one of the few teams that is obviously going to commit to something like that. So, Gerald to trade him in a trade. Again, I don't understand. I'm not following you, Best League, when you're talking about Trey Young. Again, why would you want Trey Young at all? Period. He does not fit with what the Lakers need right now. They need something more valuable at this point, as far as players who can impact the game in a different fashion than what they're doing right now for the Lakers. But I just wanted to go ahead and say I know that JY had a question here. I want to go real quickly because that was for you, Joe. In your opinion, is Luka on the Otani level as far as impacting winning, or if not, who is more valuable?
Luka has more power in winning because he's an NBA player and playing basketball. There's only 5 guys playing on a team, and he can have the ball anytime he wants. Baseball is very different. It's so different. Think about this. It's weird that they're asking these questions. I already talked to you guys about this on the chat today, right? Otani, the fact that he is impacting this team in baseball is it's almost like he's not even given enough credit for that. Because if you watch the games and you pay attention to the strategy of the opposition, the things that happen when he's not quote unquote effective, right? He's striking out a lot. They're throwing every left-hander. The Phillies had the best left-handed pitchers in baseball last year. I don't think anybody that watches baseball is going to argue against that. And they all pitched out of this planet good. All of them. And they still got busted up. They still lost 3-1. They lost both games at home, which that was probably the biggest surprise of the year for me. Beating the Phillies in Philly the first 2 games. That was I couldn't believe it. Because I had picked the Phillies or the Dodgers to win it all. I go, it's going to be now that probably changed as I saw Toronto play out of their minds. I think if the Phillies had beaten the Dodgers and went and played Toronto, I think Toronto would have swept them. But anyways, in baseball, Otani can only affect the game 4 to 5 times during a 9-inning game. That's it.
Unless he's pitching.
If he pitches, then he's affecting that game, and then he can't do that again for another 5, 6, 7 games, depending on how the series goes. Baseball players that can be true MVPs of their team, it's difficult. That's why you see a lot of mid-tier type players win MVPs during series. You saw Chris Taylor win an MVP in an NLCS. You saw Justin Turner win an MVP in an NLCS. You saw Cody Bellinger win an NLCS MVP. Now, I know he was an MVP, but like league MVP, but he's kind of had a weird career where he went from he was looking like he was going to be an all-time great to all of a sudden now he's kind of like he's good. He's not great, right? More in the middle now. Maybe a little bit slightly up the middle, but not like he was probably supposed to be, right? Luka, NBA players, basketball players, going to have much more power to determine winning than Shohei Otani. Which why winning isn't really looked on in baseball as much as other sports. Barry Bonds didn't win a World Series, right? But no one really gives a damn about that. Mark McGwire won one in Oakland, but no one ever really talks about that. They're always talking about the home runs. Sammy Sosa didn't win anything. No one really talks about Roger Clemens winning a championship in New York. It's always about his Cy Youngs and his 20 strikeout game. It's an individual game because that's what it is. It's impossible for one singular baseball player, no matter how great, to affect the game to win. Except Otani has gotten pretty damn close to being that guy. The guy's been there 2 years and they've won 2 championships. And when you watch the games, I'm going to get back to what my point was at the beginning when I was talking about the Phillies setup. even in that series, he affected the game. They don't win 2 of those games without Ohtani as bad as he hit, because he pitched game 1 and he won. He had 1 bad inning. And then Teoscar hit that 3-run homer. They got the lead, and that was a wrap. The other game where they won, the reason why they won was the clincher in game 4. They had to walk him, and that forced that pitcher, I can't remember who it was, to deal with Mookie Betts. Yeah, he didn't have a good series, but this was still early on in the playoffs. He ended up walking him. The game got tied, and then the game ended up finishing 2-1 when Kirking ended up throwing the ball to the first row and behind the backstop. That game doesn't end 2-1 for the Dodgers if not for the fear of Shohei Ohtani. His fear wins games for the Dodgers when he's not hitting well. It happened in game 3. He hit 2 doubles, 2 home runs, and then Schneider didn't see him for 5 other at-bats. I have never in my life, and I've never would have ever predicted that a singular player, not even Barry Bonds, even though it could have happened with him. I never in a billion years would have ever said that I would have seen a man have 9 at-bats and get on base all 9 times. That stat is ridiculously crazy in today's game. 9? It's happened in the past. The dead ball eras, the 1800s, right? When baseball was completely different. The ball was a smashed orange. But today, for a singular player, and because of that, that is why the pressure and the changing of pitchers and wearing guys out happened, because they're so afraid of this one guy that comes up to bat every 9th at bat.
El Rosto, appreciate the super chat. Joe, give him 5 reasons why Ayton lost this game. Now, I gave it to him in the chat. Give El Rosto 5 reasons why Ayton lost this game.
He didn't really position himself well down in the paint where he can flourish. He was standing around most of the time. When he did get the ball and get good positioning, he wasn't making the shots, couldn't hit jumpers, and he didn't really do much in terms of putting any kind of fear or any kind of just some kind of distraction for Wembanyama when he was doing his thing. Mind you, guys, DeAndre Ayton with shoes on is a legit 6'11", right?
7 feet.
7 feet, right? Yeah. I think it's 6'11", but let's say 7 feet. So I know Wembanyama is 6 inches taller than him, but he's got long arms. He can still be somewhat of a distraction, but he got totally taken out in the second half by Wembanyama. He was useless. So if he's going to be useless on defense and not score on top of that, you might as well just keep playing Jackson Hayes. At least you'll get some kind of effort with him getting some alley-oops and maybe getting a block shot or maybe scrapping for the 50-50s, which this has been the best Jackson Hayes season I've seen him play too, by the way.
But again, you can't commit to him as a
No, not at all. He does his job. He's making $3 million a year. He gives the effort. If everyone gave the effort that Jackson Hayes has given this year, this team would be, without a doubt, much better than they are right now, even though they have a good record.
But unfortunately, we did not see it as far as in that second half. Again, I cannot fault the team for their defensive effort in that first half. It's one of the best efforts on the defensive end. The recoveries, the way they went out, contested. They really held San Antonio in check for the most part, except for that buffer where the Lakers could not score while Luka was on the bench. But that second half, it just fell apart from there.
JY, just again to put this in perspective, when Ohtani was with the Angels for 6 years, go ahead and count how many times he made the playoffs.
I think it was 0, if I'm not mistaken. because they had just made one with Mike
it's the
Trout.
argument. One of the dumbest things I saw today was somebody trying to compare who helped who more, Pippen, Horace Grant, or Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh versus the Jordan LeBron thing. I mean, it was one of the dumbest. I looked at it for about 5 seconds and I didn't even get into discussing it. Morons. No one wins without help. No great coach that you know didn't have great players. You might have had a couple coaches here and there that have won with not the greatest team, but they won with very, very good teams. One being Larry Brown, right, in 04. You can say to some degree Nick Nurse in 19. But then they did have Kawhi Leonard. So you need help to win. It's a team game. This isn't tennis. It's not golf. If your argument is comparing secondary and third players, you are a fucking idiot. Seriously, you are a fucking idiot if you're having arguments about, well, Jordan won because he had Pippen and Horace Grant, and they didn't play anybody in that area. When somebody says they didn't play anybody in that area, you just get a bat and put them, like bury them in the backyard. That's a joke, by the way. Mm-hmm. Figuratively, by the way. I'm not telling anybody to murder anybody. But it's the dumbest. And of course, it's coming from people that were born in fucking 2001.
So before we head on out, I did want to mention something too, because we were talking about Trey Young trade today, and Trey Young, again, for those who didn't catch it, was traded from the Atlanta Hawks to the Washington Wizards for C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. No draft picks were involved, but Joe, maybe this would ease your mind a little bit on the Washington side. Bobby Marks put this up there. He's followed it from, I think it was at Sleeper Wizards on Twitter. Talking about Will Dawkins as far as the front office for Washington. Go back a little bit, Joe. Starts off with Bradley Beal and how he left Washington Wizards. Then transitioned to Chris Paul as far as what they, and that involved as far as him, Bradley Beal leaving and Chris Paul coming in. Then Chris Paul leaving and Jordan Poole coming in and his contract. Then Jordan Poole leaving in that trade for C.J. McCollum. And now C.J. McCollum has been, essentially C.J. McCollum, a little bit Corey Kispert too, but C.J. McCollum has been transformed into Trey Young. But through all those moves that they've made with all those players concerning, additionally, yes, no picks today, but overall, Joe, 4 years of pick swaps, 6 seconds, and they've saved $16 million over the next 2 years. So not bad overall, getting you from point A with Bradley Beal to point E right now with Trey Young. When you look at it like that, overall.
I wonder if there's been a handshake deal that they're going to extend him.
That's my guess. That's why he was eager. That's why you saw the reports. I'm guessing that's why you saw the reports why Trey Young was so eager to go to the Washington Wizards. Similar to what happened with Butler last season. Remember, Butler was traded at the trade deadline. Boom, he got a mega deal right thereafter.
This is the only way Washington can get that player, right? So much
Probably.
like Minnesota.
Because they were going to have $100 million plus in cap space, even more than the Lakers. But like you say, who is going to go to Washington?
I think that's going to change as the new CBA starts to level off. Some of those guys that are going to have to leave Oklahoma City, unless Oklahoma City wants to pay that luxury tax, that's going to be an interesting conversation. A lot of those contracts are going to calibrate from 14 to 40, right? But are they going to let Hartenstein go? They're going to let Lou Dort, Dort go. Then that kind of levels off a little bit more. Now I don't have to worry about that. But I think my instincts say the NBA has and will create a minimal movement league. They don't want anybody to leave anymore. And if those who are leaving, they're not going to be the stars, the Giannis's, the Mitchells, and the Jokic's. Unless those guys want to take less to move, which they're banking that they don't.
And no one's perfect, especially Washington, because they did give up Denny Advia in a trade to Portland. But I don't even think Portland thought that Denny Advia was going to be this level of great player, where he's now in the top 10 in voting right now for the Western Conference All-Stars. So I'm just going to say that, again, no one's perfect. No team is perfect. But again, Washington has been trying to get out of the Bradley Beal situation. They did, and they've moved on, and it's evolved and gotten into what they got today in Trey Young. But over the course of time, adding in 4 pick swaps, 6 seconds, and saving them money over the next 2 seasons certainly can't hurt as well. But again, it is the Lakers losing 107-91. They were in 5th place after the loss, but they moved back up to 4th with the loss for Houston. Their next game for the Lakers is against Milwaukee on Friday night. So hopefully you will join us for the post game as always. But Joe, any last thoughts that you can embark, or any points of wisdom you can embark on our chat and the crowd out there listening and watching before we head on out?
What?
Any last thoughts before we head on out? Gosh,
didn't somebody want to hear about the Dodgers again?
But you did, didn't you? Yes, you ran it, but I don't know what
rant about. I didn't rant about their inactivity. I guess maybe they forgot that Edwin Diaz signed a few weeks ago. Filled a huge need that they need. Do you guys know that the Dodgers already have their 7 starting pitchers? A couple guys came back from Tommy John, guys. River Ryan, Gavin Stone. And Gavin Stone 2 years ago led in innings pitched for the Dodgers. That's why he ended up having to get Tommy John. The Dodgers are like a black mamba. They're going to wait for you to get in their area, and then they're going to strike, and then you're dead. Baseball free agency is not what the NBA used to be or the NFL. That's not how it works. There's no salary cap in baseball. Teams can wait. Players can wait until they get the deal that they want. Bryce Harper, arguably probably the second best player back in, 2015 before he got his deal. Mike Trout was number 1 at the time, obviously. He didn't sign until March. That's Bryce Harper, right? MVP, all that stuff. So I would implore you to have a little bit more patience. And if you really knew what how the Dodgers work, you wouldn't be frustrated, or you wouldn't be questioning or wanting a rant. Even if they were being lazy, do we have any say at this point to be negative? This is the most beautifully run franchise I've ever seen. Better than the Lakers at their height, better than the Steelers for my teams, better than Boston right now. Some will say Oklahoma City's number 1. I know there was a survey that said that they had the best front office. There's an argument there, sure. But I don't think any Dodger fans should think or worry about anything right now. This team has created, in the last 13 seasons, the greatest Dodger dynasty in its history. And they are one more playoff appearance from tying the all-time record of 14 straight playoff appearances. The 1991 to 2005 Atlanta Braves. And they only won 1 championship during that time. Dodgers already have 3. Should have 4. Should have 5, really, but I'm not going to get into that right now, but the Dodgers, from what I've anticipated, is they're going to win in the next. They have Ohtani for 8 more years. I feel very confident that they're going to win at least half of those years. They're going to win titles in half of those years. Ohtani will go into retirement in 8 years, being a 6-time world champion. And he's pretty much probably already there right now, but I think in the next year or two, it won't even be a discussion anymore. It'll be as clear as Michael Jordan being the greatest of all time.
And with that, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. Once again, the Lakers lose 107-91, 4th place in the Western Conference. Will that change after Friday night's game against Milwaukee? Be here to find out. Come here after every post game for the best in analysis, insight, and of course, opinion on the Los Angeles Lakers and more each and every time out. Great to have you guys here, but make sure you like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe to get the latest notifications on when we go live with the Lakers Fast Break. Don't forget our good friend John Costa, who says he will try to be back for the Milwaukee game. And Joe's channel, as far as the Experiment channel right there for John Costa, it is, of course, Lakers Corner. Don't forget our good friends at Lakerholics.com. And also, don't forget, as Joe has right behind him, and I have right behind me, all this quality work from at Drip Show Shop on Instagram, TikTok, and also Twitter as well. So, once again, truly appreciate it. All the mods out there, search SB, Xbox, who give each other so much love in the chat each and every time we do this. Cannot thank you enough for the great job that you guys do. And cannot thank you enough, everyone out there, for stopping by for what we do each and every time out. Win or lose, right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.
They should just give him another ring also.
I just love how people get those like last second just like jabs like King Hudson did in the chat. I just love it. I just love it, Joe. Guys, too much.